Hi everyone, welcome to Modeling and Media Optimization Week. Perhaps my favorite part of campaign measurement is understanding what a model is doing and how to use that knowledge to improve overall performance and help meet a client's goals and KPIs. So I want to start this off by taking a look at while technically a fake, maybe a little bit too real client conversation. This is common and it's a lot. It's a lot of info, but it's good info, honestly. I'm running emotionally charged lifestyle creative on traditional linear TV and major digital video channels. My primary KPIs are offline sales. My analytics team demands proof of incremental sales, and my campaign managers optimize day-to-day on last touch metrics from our site analytics tool. Oh, and also we're running a BOGO sale. So I want to break this down just a little bit into the components of this paragraph so we get a sense of what we're talking about here. All right, there's a lot going on. So up at the top, we get creative, emotionally charged lifestyle creative. We get traditional TV and major digital video channels for inventory. We get a primary KPI of offline sales, a secondary KPI of proof of incremental sales. Though, to be fair, this might be more like a requirement, more like percent of viewable impressions than necessarily KPI, but we can count as a KPI for today. A tertiary KPI, we're going to optimize day-to-day on last touch metrics. Depending on the measurement solution you're running, we could actually probably classify this as tampering rather than a KPI. We did find an alternative measurement solution here in the site analytics tool, and we have a confounding influence on the BOGO sale. Like I said, this is a lot. But honestly, I would love to get this much clarity at the beginning of a campaign. Imagine being midway through and you've already set up your experiment and you're already running the media, and then you find out about the BOGO sale. Oh yeah, that might have a material impact on performance. So learning this much up front is a gift if you use the information properly. But the point of all of this is that marketing objectives can get really complicated. It's nuanced. The goals are overlapping. The goals are sometimes conflicting. It's very much a team sport on the marketing side, but every team has a different KPI or goal or responsibility within the system, and the measurement is going to be the final piece of the puzzle for them to show how they performed. It's the final bit of did it work? And it really depends on who you're talking to. So bringing the right measurement solution to the right audience and optimizing it the right way is absolutely paramount. All right, so when you're dealing with all of this and struggling to think of what to do and how to measure, I like to offer this quote. It's actually one of my favorite quotes in the realm of models, and I think it really helps add a lot when we're evaluating or recommending measurement solutions. There's another quote that's similar to this. All models are wrong, but some models are useful. Think of this as the sequel to that quote. Since all models are wrong, the scientists must be alert to what is importantly wrong. It is inappropriate to be concerned about mice when there are tigers abroad. I love this. It's such a simple way to take a look at what all of the elements of your model and really focus on the big ticket items. So today, we're going to talk about the species of tigers that exist in the modeling jungle. So I want to help everyone understand the core modeling elements and then define the solution that will help you choose the right tools in the right ways and then optimize performance effectively. So when I'm evaluating a new solution, I immediately try to understand 5 things. These are 5 things that I know I can use, how I can optimize, and how it contrasts with other solutions that are currently available to me. And the best part about these 5 things is you can often figure them out from a company's website. So here are the 5 building blocks. So let's start at the top. We're going to start with correlation versus causation. And this is a big one, so let's get it out of the way. Causal solutions use an experimental design or causal inference-based approach. They're going to help you understand if there was a behavior change as a result of the ad. They're going to help you understand if the ad drove incremental action, incremental sales. A correlated solution is going to help you understand user behavior more generally. Where are my buyers? What are my buyers in a certain demo or data-driven target segment Do they watch Pluto or do they watch Paramount Plus? Valuable information, but very important not to use either of these the wrong way. So the next up is going to be people versus population. People-based measurement is very cool because it allows you to get these deep interaction effects on audiences and creative and placement. It's very granular. But it is harder because it brings in this topic of identity. How do I align my ads to a person, to a shopping cart? It's harder indeed, but it is very powerful when it can be done. It's also not always people. This can be this can be households or some other granular ID unit. But on the flip side, we have populations. And these solutions are often far more complete as they capture more data. With identity-based solutions, you need to create a match between the data you have as well as the identity. And the more you're matching, the more fall off you're going to get. This is a match rate tax that you have to pay. Whereas a population solution is going to capture 100% of the impressions and 100% of the transactions. Now, they're typically aggregated, is the trade-off. MMM and match market tests typically fall into this category. All right, the third item on the list is single touch versus multi-touch. Single touch is the single most common approach in the industry. It's even common in causal solutions. You may hear this as last touch or last click methods. Even attribution on most social platforms is going to be based on a single or last touch point in the user's journey. Multi-touch attribution, it has a lot of promise. It has a lot of potential. But it also gets complicated very, very quickly. You are essentially taking a single checkout and fractionalizing it to many, many impression touch points in the user journey along the way. So how do you give credit to the fifth touch point? And does a TV commercial get more credit than a banner ad on a mobile phone? These are all questions that come up as you start to move in a multi-touch direction. And which leads me nicely into number 4. This is heuristics versus models. I will actually typically refer to this one as rules versus math, but I wanted to level it up a little bit for the course. But on the heuristic side, this is a rule or a common application or a standard is what we're trying to establish with a heuristic. So if someone buys, do we count them in the campaign if they didn't see the ad? Well, what if they saw the ad after they bought the item? What if they see the ad 9 months before they buy? Determinations of whether this person should be included in the study, these are all rule sets, and they're very common to be applied that way, and sometimes the answers are obvious. All measurement solutions utilize these types of rules, and the very best rules are originally informed by models, and typically lots of them with repeat runs, but they're rules nonetheless. Now, a model, this is going to be a mathematics-based approach, heavily reliant on the use of data, and often it will end up in choosing a rule. So as an example, if we ran 100 past campaigns on fast food restaurants, and we've determined through sophisticated modeling that 98% of incremental sales occurred within 3 days of seeing the ad, we might just say, cool, that's the rule now. 3 days of credit, and that's it. But some models will always need to run. So things like path to purchase or dynamic creative optimization or DCO. These are persistent models with many, many, many outcomes. And they create a capability that's simply not possible without the modeling element in place. And now finally, a big debate in the world of measurement is saying, do we go with representative data or big data? Now we got to talk about this one, because everyone is going to say representative data, but it's really never that easy, because big data has straight statistical benefits. When we're calculating standard deviations, the square root of n is in the denominator, so it's really important. The bigger the population we're measuring, the smaller the variance, which means the more statistically significant results we'll get. Sounds great. But no matter who you talk to, they're going to talk about their data as being representative. But it's super hard to actually tell if that's the case because many biases are deep and they're insidious. So if everyone is using representative data and you can't really tell, shouldn't you really just go with the bigger data set? Isn't that the dominant strategy in this approach? Well, I would say that representative data is absolutely key. Because no matter the solution, we are looking at samples, we are looking at subsets of the full population in order to measure, in order for your measurement to reflect the full campaign performance accurately. Your measurement needs to generalize to the full reached population. So the key with representative data is to know how it is that they are balancing the data they're measuring with, and what population they are weighing it to. It could be the census, it could be the population of the application. There are many ways to approach this, but understanding what they are doing and or how they are doing it and what population they are weighing it to is vital with representative data. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more practically. Here's a couple of solutions, and I want to see how they shape up against this model. Keep in mind that many of these choices are often a spectrum, but for today's purposes, we're going to keep it binary. Each modeling approach has a combination of these modeling elements. So let's going to take, on the top left, we're going to start with standard conversion attribution. You'll see this commonly on any digital site. It's correlated, right? There's no experimentation group. It's just did in person with see the ad and then did they buy. It's people-based. It's did the person buy. It's typically a single touch solution, often the last touch. And it's a heuristics approach. Did the person buy after they saw the ad? And there's usually a day limit. So 7 days and 30 days are very common for clicks. One day, maybe 7 days is common for a view-through attribution. Attribution approaches are very typically big data. Now, let's take a look at MTA on the top right. All we're doing is swapping, at least in your most basic MTA offering, all we're doing is swapping from single touch to multi-touch. Essentially, it's a very similar solution. You're just incorporating more touch points, and many multi-touch attribution solutions are heuristics based. So the way that we fractionalize the conversion credit back to the impression is usually built by a series of rules, though there are many world-class MTA solutions that do utilize modeling approaches rather than heuristic approaches for this. Okay, on the bottom left, we have brand lift, a very common solution. This is causal. Trackers aren't, but a brand lift solution will absolutely compare an exposed to a representative control population. It's people-based, a human is taking the survey, and it's often single touch. It's a modeled solution. It is a test versus control, sometimes experimental design, but almost always the control population is weighted to match the exposed. And it is representative data. It's a representative control population. Well, it's representative as well that many solutions are based on very few respondents, 500, maybe 2,000 respondents. So representation to your full reach campaign is key. Randomization is usually the key for brand lift solutions. MMM, and I did want to include one population solution here to look at how this breaks out. It's multi-touch in that it considers all marketing, TV, print, in-store promotion that a user could be exposed to. But since it's population-based, it's not did you see it, but did you have the opportunity to see it? It's what we call an intent to treat approach. I'd be willing to debate whether this is big data or representative data on this one, so feel free to call me on it if you disagree, but like I said, it's a spectrum, so I went with representative data on this particular scenario.